This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I am Rajni Jain. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to welcome you all to this online meeting. Please take a moment to review the guidelines for this online meeting posted in the chat window. I now request the moderator, Mr. Lakshmipati, to introduce the speaker and start the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rajini. Good evening, everyone. I am Lakshmipati and I'll be moderating this meeting. Agricultureinformation.com likes to welcome to this meeting Dr. V Srinivasa Reddy, the Assistant Professor at University of Agricultural Sciences, Raichur, Karnataka. Dr. Srinivasa Reddy will be speaking on the topic Best Practices for Better Soil and Water Conservation. I now request the speaker to begin.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Good evening, one and all. Yeah, shall I start, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So, good evening, one and all. So, today's topic, the soil and water conservation measures. Okay, I'm presently working as assistant professor at UAS Raichur. So, it's a pleasure for me to just face you all today through this talk. Fine. So here, since I hope since heterogeneous group is there, so I have not loaded with much scientific data here. So simply, just with relevant figures, sketches, and photos. So I'll be explaining the relevant information. Okay, that's what I thought of, and I did the same thing. Right. Just an introductory slide. So out of the since mankind existed, so out of the natural resources, the best natural resources and very precious natural resources are soil and water. So along with light, air, whatever the primitive things which require for sustainability of the life. Okay, out of that, soil and water are the precious natural resources. We have to use them very judicially, right? So coming to the just information about broad information about soil. So everybody knows. So soil is derived from rocks and minerals, and it takes centuries together to just form a top soil layer which really supports the plant growth, right? So we have different kinds of texture and structure of soils which are spread across the country. So of course, texture wise, there are 12 groups ranging from clay soil to the sandy soil having different properties. Likewise, structure also, it is arrangement of the soil particles ranging from platy structure to the crumble structure. I mean, where different various properties it exhibits. Okay, so that's why we have various kinds spread across the country. So in today's scenario, the productivity of soil is declining. Of course, everybody knows there are many reasons for that. So now, one of the reasons relevant to this topic is soil erosion. Soil erosion is the one of the reason for decline in the productivity. Likewise, coming to water, at the global context, we know already 3/4 part of our whole globe is water, but the problem is almost 97% of it is salty water. Okay, that's why hardly less than 3% is real water, which can be used for all our domestic purpose, agriculture, and other purpose. That's why when we see our financial budget, when we see actual annual water budget of the country, so our country receives, starting from, say, for example, the lowest rainfall in Badmer district in Rajasthan, like 150 mm per year, to highest rainfall, Chirapunji or Mashangaon in northeastern region, so which is more than even 6,000 mm per year. When we see the average rainfall, it works out to be around 1,200 mm. So average rainfall of the country is 1,200 mm. 1,200 mm is 1.2 mm. If you multiply that figure with the geographical area of the country, our geographical area of the country is 328 million hectare. Okay, of course 328.7, right? So round up to 328. So then it will be approximately very near to 400 million hectare meter. So this is the actual average annual budget of the country. That means if you take 400 million hectares, so there is a standing water of 1 meter on 400 million hectare land. So that's what the annual budget. So out of that, what happens, how it distributes? So almost 70 million hectare meter, it goes as an evaporation loss. 115 million hectare meter, it goes as a surface runoff, which will be stored in lakes, reservoirs, ponds, and so on. So surface water reservoirs. Then 250 million hectare meter, it contributes to the groundwater and soil profile. So this is what the distribution annually. So we are very lucky. We are, it is our area is surrounded by the 3 sites, and we have a very lengthy this one. And because of this, hydrological cycle, we are very lucky. We are receiving very good rainfall. So in that way, so we are very lucky than other countries. Fine. Straight away going to the importance of soil and water conservation structures. So we know soil conservation is very important. So when we want to conserve, we should not leave soil to last, right? So here there is one universal soil loss equation just to know the importance of soil conservation, right? So A means soil loss. So it is dependent on 6 parameters. Okay, it is mainly dependent on 6 parameters. So R refers to rainfall, right? K refers to this is K. K refers to soil characteristics. K refers to soil characteristics. L refers to length of slope of the land. S refers to steepness. That means how much percentage slope. Here more steepness, less steep. Level land. Likewise, S refers to steepness of the slope. Then C refers to cropping pattern. What cropping pattern we take up on the ground. Then P refers to practices. That means conservation practices we take up in the land. So now, looking to the importance of this, these practices, say when we see all these 6 parameters, we don't have control over first 2. I mean, almost say rainfall we don't have control. Soil parameters we cannot change drastically, so it's a slow process. Then of course length and steepness of slope. Yes, if economy is not the criteria, so we can level the land and bring it to the level land, and we can reduce the soil loss and length of the slope as well as steepness of the slope. But the last 2 are very important for farmers point of view as well as scientific community point of view. Okay, because what cropping pattern, what crops we grow on the land, as well as what soil and water conservation measures we take up on the ground. That's why it is directly dependent on this, controlling the soil loss. That's why this is the importance of cropping pattern as well as our soil conservation measures. Right. So before going to the actual measures, again another 1 minute. Okay. See, soil and water conservation measures are not new to us. Okay. Since time immemorial, everybody knows there are various measures, plenty of measures are there. But at this junction, what is important is, so these points which are of common sense, say suppose if we say the most and foremost important thing to lead balanced life is like common sense, right? Like that. So the most important thing is, so we have to go from a sector knowledge towards the wisdom. So everybody knows knowledge is about knowing facts and figures. Okay, but we have to be towards wisdom side. That means in practically we have to judge which is right, which is wrong. Okay, that is most important. So that we have to realize. Then attitude towards adoption. There are so many measures are there. Okay, one should have right attitude. Yes, this works out. We need to adopt it. Yes, that is better for the betterment of our future and so on, for environmental effects and so on. So we need to have that attitude. That is very important. Then once we already know, still we have good attitude, but still not practicing, it's not good. So in real time, we need to put them in practice. That is very important. And the last thing is, so there is no single solution for all problems. There are many kinds of problems are there. They are region specific. Okay. So there is no single solution for all the problems. That's why, so once we know the measures, we should know under what conditions they work, and we should be very practical to wisdom oriented. Yes, whether it works out or not, right? So that is with this. So I straight away go for some of the very good technologies, which really, of course, that's what I told. So everybody, many of you even maybe knowing better than me, but only thing is, yes, we need to realize and put them in practice. That is very important. Okay. So I'll be highlighting 1 or 2 points related to that, wherever it is required. So the first and foremost thing in soil conservation is plowing across the field. Okay. We need to plow the land always across the slope. Okay. Say for example, this is the direction of slope. Okay. So when we take up all cultivation practices along the slope, then much runoff will be removed from the field, and along with the runoff, soil will also be lost. That's why always all cultivation practices we need to take up across the slope. This is the first and foremost thing in soil and water conservation, right? So if we do it, because we have very trend fashion, or even sometimes superstitious beliefs, like say maybe sowing has to be done by east-west direction. Of course, one reason is lighting effect. Then other beliefs are, say for example, road is there. Okay, it is towards road. Okay, so then we feel farmer, as we need to sow it row wise so that others see and appreciate. Yes, how straight line it is. No, it's not that. So whether it may be across or all, I mean, it is oriented towards road or other thing, but we should see that, okay, it is across the slope. All cultivation practice are done across the slope, but not either lengthwise or any other beliefs, right? So that is very important. So almost 50% of the erosion can be controlled by plowing across the slope. That is very important. Then, of course, we have a habit of, especially, yes, we take up speedy agriculture practices before Kharif starts. Okay, so during May end, okay, that is a pre-monsoon season. So we take up activities there. But during summer, nobody plows our land. Okay, so summer plowing is very important. Okay, because so if you see the distribution of rainfall, even almost less than 10% is also received during summer. So that rainfall which really enters into the soil profile is very important. Okay, here two important one. So here soil erosion can also be arrested, as well as so we can control the runoff and make water to infiltrate during summer season, which will be in the soil profile, which helps for the Kharif season. Okay, that's very important. That is one thing. Then if we go for summer plowing, once it is exposed to the huge sunlight, bright sunlight, so whatever the pests and insects which are there in the hidden in the soil, so that get destroyed. So we have a two-way benefits. So that's why we always should go for, yeah, summer plowing. That is very important. Well, then, as we have already learned, right? So like cultivation, so we have to take up crops across the slope. Okay, contour cultivation means, contour line means line joining equal elevation points. Line joining equal elevation points means the contour line always run across the slope. Okay, slope is in this direction, so you have to take up all cropping practices. You have to sow the crops in this direction. So we have to always go for contour cultivation. That means sowing the crop rows across the slope. So that is very important. Then, yes, in some of the areas, especially in black soils and northern Karnataka, so what we do is, so usually we expect less rainfall at the end of the Kharif season. Okay, so and especially in black soils, so we go for Rabi crop. Okay, many of the places, right? So I mean, Kharif means there are 52 weeks in a year. Okay, 23 to 39 standard meteorological weeks. That is during June to September. Okay, it is Kharif. Then after that, Rabi. So during Rabi season, so we have rainfall, northeastern rainfall. Okay, right? So for that, so at the end of the Kharif season, so we do compartment bunding like this. Then moisture is conserved in this. Then for Kharif crop, then we'll plow it and take the crop. Okay. So these things are very much adopted, especially in northern Karnataka region, right, to conserve the moisture as well as soil. Then, of course, even in dry land, of course, it is more applicable to irrigated land, but still dry land. So, except one constraint, that is economy. Okay, if we are sound enough to just invest on land leveling, that is the best practice. Okay, but another constraint is soil depth. Okay, depth should be sufficient. Otherwise, so if you remove soil from one place and replace at other place, okay, so then remaining soil, it should have sufficient root zone depth. Okay, that is very important. So with these two factors, economic criteria as well as soil depth criteria, so the best way is land leveling. Okay, so there are many kinds of levelers are there. So this is one of the land leveler. This is called as the laser land leveling. Okay, some of you have some bad this one about perception about laser leveling. So we think that laser leveling does automatically itself, no need to do anything. Yes, certainly it does, but the thing is operation depth is very low, hardly 15 to 20 centimeter, 15 centimeter only. Okay, so with before introducing this laser leveling, so we have to do normal leveling with our regular levelers, then only we have to introduce this. Otherwise, depth of cut, it cannot haul, it cannot take too much soil. Its depth of cut, its sensitivity range is very less. That is very important. Okay, so if we go for land leveling, So as we have explained in one of the equation, L and S, length of the slope we are reducing, steepness of the slope we are reducing. So where we have better control of both soil erosion as well as water can be conserved. Uniform moisture distribution will be there when rainfall falls. Otherwise, it goes as a runoff and takes away the moisture. So that is very important. So land leveling is one of the important factor. Then, though mulching, this practice is very much done at irrigated levels. So wherever we have irrigation, so under drip irrigation and so on, so it's nowadays very common, right? Say for example, this is paddy straw used as a mulch, right? So this is a polythene sheet, right? Cover, what we say normally polyethylene sheet, so used as a mulching material. Then of course pebbles also. So in black soils where infiltration rate is very low, so their pebbles can also be used for mulching material, inorganic mulch, right? So likewise, various kinds of mulch material can also be used because these creates micro environment. Okay, so two-way it acts. In summer, they act as a cooling effect. So in winter, they act as a temperature maintenance effect. Okay, right, and control evaporation. That is very important because so it does not allow much water to evaporate from the top layers. That is most important. So for controlling evaporation, we'll be using mulches. So mulching practice is very important in dry lands also. Then comes bunding. Of course, many of you might have experienced. So bunding is a very essential component in even in NAREGA also, in rural side, in watershed management programs or any Jal Shakti programs and so on. So everywhere, so this bunding is very important at farm level to control soil as well as moisture conservation. Okay, of course there are various bunds are there. So two important prominent bunds are contour bunds. Okay, that means wherever how it is leveled. Okay, I mean depending upon the elevation of the land, right? It's a line joining equal elevation points. Okay, that means it always across the slope. So contour bunding is very much essential to conserve. Then again another bund is so graded bunding, right? So this is the bund, this is the bund. So this is the channel along the foothill of the bund. Okay, because say contour bunds are used for conserving in low rainfall areas, conserving moisture as well as soil in low rainfall areas, whereas graded bunds are used for high rainfall region and at the soil conditions where infiltration is very low. Say for example, clay soils, infiltration is very low. Soon runoff occurs. Okay, so then if we have so much height of the bund, so runoff stands there and it hinders the crop standing. Okay, that's why. So it has to be removed out. Okay, so under heavy rainfall region as well as under the soils where infiltration rates are less. So under such conditions, we need to provide such channel-like structure along the foot of the bund. Okay, so such structures are called as graded bunds. So contour bunds as well as graded bunds. Contour bunds are for low rainfall regions and graded bunds for high rainfall as well as low infiltrating soils. We need to use these conservation measures. These are very important. So likewise, so again in NAREGA and all, right? So in at farm level, these trench cum bund are very effective. Okay, so in the NAREGA program also, so most of the conservation works at farm level are for only three: farm pond, bunding, and trench cum bund. So these three are very effective because so say for example, whatever runoff is there from this field, okay, it comes and fills in this pit. This is a trench. Okay, then bund is towards the downstream side. This is upstream side. This is the downstream side. So we'll be having bund. So once this water stands here, though we are losing some area here, but this crop will be very safe. So not inundated by water. Then whatever the water which is stored here in these trenches, so it gives soil moisture in the below profile, okay, to the downstream side. So whatever the crops you grow on the downstream side, to that it supply moisture, and so you'll get very good crop at the downstream side. So that's why. So always we go for a trench cum bund. Of course, bund is towards the downstream side. Whatever excavated portion is there, we put towards the downstream side. So this is an area where trench cum bunds are adopted. Okay, so this is the slope is in this direction. So trenches are there, bunds, trenches, bunds. Okay, trench cum bund is an excellent solution for dry land farming. Yes, likewise, once we have bunds, one of the mistakes we do is, say when we have bunds, okay, like we in the previous case we have seen, so when we have some channel like thing, okay, in a graded bund, that's okay. But when we want to conserve moisture in especially in the low rainfall areas, so we'll go for bund. Okay, there will not be any provision for outlet. That is the biggest mistake we do when we go for bunding in even in watershed areas and in many cases even in Narega programs and all. Okay, providing proper outlet is very, very important. Okay, because we need to say, for example, height of the bund is say for example 1 meter. Okay, then we need to decide how much water should stand here, either 5 centimeter, 10 centimeter. So after that, we need to provide some outlet, which is we usually call it as surplus weir. Weir is a structure which takes water, conveys water. Okay, surplus means extra water we need to convey through this weir. Surplus weir we call it as. So there should be provision for taking out that extra water. Only allow 5 centimeter, maximum 10 centimeter, depending upon the soil conditions, elevations there. So allow only that much water to stand. So then it has to pass through the next field or to the nala nearby. Okay, so like that we have to have that provision. So that provision is called as surplus weirs. There are various kinds of surplus weirs are there. Even cement concrete surplus weirs are there. You see, this is the one of the surplus weir, inlet type. Okay, below the bund. So it is in Bijapur area, Hunbund area. So even this was constructed 200 years back. Okay, right? Even it is still existing. So like that. So these conservation, surplus weirs are very important to remove the excess water, because once bund is there, so always once bund is there, so water should stand up to certain level. So after that, it has to pass through that. Otherwise, if it impounds up to the height of the water, then so it breaches off the bund. Okay, so overflow occurs and somewhere it breaches off and everything gets eroded. So that's why so surplus weir is very important. Right. So then always, earlier we were very much practicing these kind of live barriers, but now as the technology advances, as we are going ahead, okay, in technology, so we are just ignoring these things, okay, because agave was the best plant. Even it gives additional income also, and even it is a very live barrier around the field also. Now we invest so much for fencing, that is link fencing, wire link fencing. But agave, 1 or 2 rows of agave will be in a excellent live fencing, even around the field also, and even in between also. If we have, so it is a very good conservation measure. So likewise, we can have very cuss grass, okay, grown on a contour line, contour band as cuss grass, which is very much grown in. It can sustain its life in dry land areas under very low rainfall. So likewise, some other plantings can also be taken in the bund, so that we can control erosion, and moisture conservation will also be done. So then up to 2% slopes, even in dry land, say especially we have some negligence towards dry land. Okay, so when it is an irrigated land, so then we take up everything, mulching, drip irrigation, everything we go. But when we see dry land, okay, we don't practice much of the soil conservation practices. Say up to 2% slope, up to 2% slope for most of the wide row crops. For most of the wide row crops, say for example red gram, okay, cotton. Likewise, for most of the wide row field crops, this raised bed system is excellent. Up to 2%, it is very excellent, and it's very simple instrument. Okay, so we have plows like this, 2 plows attached, 2 bottoms attached together. Then it forms a furrow. Okay, so between these 2 furrows, so ridge forms. So in this ridge, so even to this, even seed drill can also be attached. Okay, so forming these beds also. Okay, of course, it is a single instrument only to form a bed. Okay, then sowing has to be taken afterwards. But if you see this instrument, so at the front row, so it forms 2 beds here. Then in the bed, okay, 2 rows of sowing can be taken with seed drill also. Seed drill also be attached to this. Then simultaneously forming these raised beds as well as sowing can also be taken up. Okay, so in the okay. Yeah, you can clearly see this. So here it is. Yeah, it is a furrow here. It is a furrow. So now this is the broad bed. So 1 row here on the bed, another row here. Okay, so like that, 2 rows of this can be taken up on the bed. Okay, so here water will be conserved here in this. Suppose when excess runoff, excess rainfall occurs, then runoff can be removed. Then low rainfall is there, we can tie this. We can tie these ridges and we can control not to flow, okay, to stay there itself, to make it to infiltrate. So we can tie these ridges. That's what we can do. So that's why raised bed technology for dryland also, for spaced crops. Okay, raised bed technology is an excellent one, right? So up to, of course, it is up to 2% slope. It is more than 2% slope, then of course there is some erosion problem and all, right? So then again, similarly, like as we go for ridges and furrow system in irrigated area, but in dryland area also, nothing wrong having like ridges and furrows, very just a 10 centimeter height, 5 centimeter height with a simple instrument across the slope. Okay, because once water has to flow means flow in this direction, because it is across the slope. One water has to flow means it has to rise this and go. Okay, so lot of infiltration opportunity time it gets, and runoff will be very low. So it is in level condition. Based on photography, you may feel that direction of slope is in this direction. It's not like that. It's based on photo, right? It is looking like that, right? So it is almost leveled. Okay, in this direction slope is. That's why ridges and furrow are in opposite direction to the slope. This technology can also be very well, and it can be tied also. If it is a very low rainfall area, even it can be tied. So if it is a heavy rainfall, means you can take out this. Okay, that's why. So for growing crops, because once you plow this can be very well you can take up the crop. Okay, it will not be any hindrance for taking up the crop. So then one of the measure, right? So conservation furrows. Say for example, in southern India, in Mandya, I mean Kolar, Chikbalapur and area and all. Say ragi is a Kolar, Bangalore. Ragi is a common crop. Okay, after 10 to 12 rows of ragi, okay, we can have a small furrow, right? Conservation furrow, where at least 2 rows of red gram can be taken up. Okay, or any other crop, tall growing crop. There will not be hindrance for this crop and this crop. Timings are different. So harvesting because this is a long duration crop. So then whatever moisture conserved here, without much reduction in the yield of the main crop. Say for example, ragi is the main crop, without much reduction. So we can conserve moisture here. Even we can go for mulching also. So then the moisture is conserved, and we will get a better yield from these 2 rows of red gram also. So at certain intervals, so we can have such conservation furrow. This is one of the technology again. Then of course everybody knows, as I was again earlier I was highlighting. So farm pond is the one of the biggest I mean the right choice in dryland areas, even ranging from 1 hectare to 10 hectares. Okay, depending upon the runoff we expect. Okay, so of course even runoff can also be calculated how much we expect. Okay, so say for example with simple formula KPA. Okay, runoff coefficient, every field will be having, it does not allow all the water to flow, it will capture. Okay, how much capacity, how much runoff it can generate depending upon the soil conditions there. Then what is the total rainfall in a year, then what is the contributing area. So approximately we can calculate how much runoff will be we can expect. Then always all the runoff what we expect, it does not come in a single. That's why single slope, right? So rainfall events are distributed throughout the year. So always we go for volume. It is ideal. Okay, that means 3 fillings you can get. Okay, and the main idea of farm pond is at least we have to use this irrigation in stored water, right, which has been conserved, for giving supplementation. Say many of main purpose is not to recharge the groundwater. That is one thing. Okay, it is not. That's why you see why what is the need of putting polythene here? We does not allow. We don't want to allow. I mean, as a seepage, it should not contribute to the groundwater. Okay, seepage has to be controlled. That's why polythene is put, right? Okay, so we have to control the seepage losses, and this water has to be used for supplementary irrigation. Because in drylands what happens, say if there is a dry spell, say July good rainfall is there, August 3 weeks no rainfall, so at that time one irrigation if you give, almost you can save 30 to 40% of the yield, because every crop really has got phenological crop growth stages. There are very critical growth stages. Say for example, flowering stage is one of the critical stage for any crop. In flowering stage, if you don't give irrigation means, or if it doesn't receive rainfall means, it will be lost. Okay, that's why under such critical conditions, if we give one irrigation, means almost 30 to 40% of yield can be saved. That's why, so always water stored in the farm pond has to be used for supplementary irrigation, but the intention of farm pond is should not be the recharging groundwater. For recharging groundwater, other structures are there. Fine. Then, of course, adapting with the conserved water, adapting micro irrigation technologies. Everybody knows drip irrigation and sprinkler irrigation are the advanced irrigation technologies where water can be used very precisely. But one thing we need to remember under this condition is, right? So when we want to go for a drip and sprinkler irrigation, right? So for anything, say for example, for us, we are the human being. So we have many organs. Okay, heart is an important one because only we have one heart. Okay, if two hands, one hand is cut, no problem, but still we can manage. Likewise, the heart of micro irrigation system, either for drip or sprinkler irrigation, the heart of micro irrigation system is filters. That's why we need to have, because when we gone for fields and we have surveyed, okay, this is the biggest mistake where farmers will do, and even companies also happy because they want to sell more products. Once they get damaged, that's fine. But as per farmer point of view, so we need to adopt these filters. Okay, there are mainly 4 kinds of filters, so we can group them into 2 kinds, that is primary filter and secondary filter. These first 2, sand filter, we also call it as gravel filter, and hydrocyclone filter. These 2 are primary filters. Then these 2, the next 2, that is screen filter and disc filter, are called as secondary filter. So based on the water source, we should have one filter from the primary filters and one filter from the secondary filter. That is compulsory because filters are the heart of micro irrigation system. Okay, so for example, when we have water source as a open well means, so algae, floating material will be, these are the inert materials in the open well. So then certainly we have to go for sand filter. Say for example, we have deep bore wells. Okay, though water is very clear, if we hold hand and see, even sand will be coming with that. Okay, to separate sand, so we need to go for hydrocyclone filter. So based on the water source, either sand filter or hydrocyclone filter has to be used as a primary filter. That is one thing. Then along with this, we need to use any one of these as a secondary filter, screen filter as well as disc filter. So disc filter is far better than screen filter. Simple screen it is made up of various materials like our wire mesh. Okay, but this disc filter is very good. Of course, the cost is high, but still we can go for disc filter. So that's why, so use of filters in micro irrigation is very important, right? So then, of course, one of the neglected component what we are practicing in today's scenario is, always we want more money, but with monocropping. That is the biggest mistake we unknowingly we are doing it. Okay, so everybody we are going for monocropping. Tomato, yes, acres together. Chili, acres together. That's all. So monocropping is the biggest hurdle from farmer side. So everybody knows it. So we want to go for multiple cropping. We want to go for integrated system. Okay, even in 1 acre land also one family can very well sustain. Whereas we see even like, yeah, we have seen across the state, country. So even farmers having 20 acres, they will be in debt. Okay, they will not be able to maintain even one family properly. That's what we have seen. Okay, even having 20 acres of dry land. But even with 1-2 acres of dry land, we can manage if we go for integrated farming system. That means growing multiple crops instead of monocrop, along with the animal husbandry, fishery, piggery, okay, like poultry, animal component, right? So and horticulture, then grass, so all these things. Okay, so multiple cropping is very important. So with small land parcels. Okay, if you go for multiple cropping, then marketing is also very easy. So and one crop fails, other crop comes up. So likewise, so integrated farming system is very much required nowadays. But that is the that's what knowingly we are neglecting it. Okay, because we can see in our campus itself, we have a small family. Even 4 children are there with 1 hectare land. They are very well managing their livelihood. So with all the system, IFS, just yes, every day they come with flour with 10 pockets, of 20, 30 pockets of 20 rupees each flour. They give it to houses. Then hardly 20 kg of some vegetable every day evening. So many 200 to 500 outside people will come for walking to the university. Yes, they sell it just 10 kg, 20 kg every day, each vegetable. So like that. So integrated system is the most important to conserve soil and water and use water in a better way. Okay. So that's why, but it is almost neglected. That is very much important. And of course, as I told, many of you know, yes, since from time immemorial, so we have very good harvesting structures which are really practiced since from our age old, even before independence, right? During our Raja's period, right? So these are the various structures, okay, but just by names, I mean, depending upon state, okay, these are all simple names, and almost all this, Bayoli, Tanka, Bavari, these are all Gujarat and Rajasthani names, okay, right? Yeri is Tamil Nadu, then Kalyani in Karnataka. So likewise, in earlier itself, we had a very good traditional water harvesting structures. Okay, so that is the overland flow also, and even from terraces also. Okay, so that water has been harvested. So that such structures are there throughout the country at many places, but many times we are neglecting those structures. Fine. So now one of the modern this one for recharging is groundwater recharging. So this model, it is our agriculture engineering college at Raichur, this building. Okay, so almost 85-meter length and almost more than 20-meter width. Okay, this terrace water along with the surface water we have connected to a bore well. Okay, so bore well. So here, right, for recharging the bore well. So what is there in this pit is, it's like this, right? So we have dug, square one pit, excavated. So then for this, we'll be having a 30 to 40 feet casing pipe. For that casing pipe, we'll be having holes, and it will be wrapped with the mesh. Okay. So then different kinds of, at the bottom, big boulders, then small boulders, small stones, then still smaller one, still only 2 mm size, then sand, okay, then pure sand. So like that. So different layers of gravels and sands are filled in this. Then water enters into this, it gets infiltrated, and through that perforations, it contributes to the groundwater. The same water is used for our gardening purpose in front of college. Okay, borewell recharging structures can also be used. It may be overland flow or even rooftop flow also. So likewise, we have other models also. This is one of the groundwater borewell recharging model that we have installed in one of the farmers field in the last year. Okay, so this much area, suppose borewell is here, so same thing, even we have to make a holes for this, okay, and wrapped by screen around. So then have a rectangular this one. Okay, so this cement concrete this one yeah, like rings has to be used. Okay, then instead of directly allowing it water to enter into this, what we do is all this pit, it will be filled with the concrete, jelly, what we say, like coarse aggregate. Okay, stones, pebbles, so bigger size and smaller size and so on. So runoff will be let into this. So then it all gets saturated. Okay, it gets filtered and goes to this ring with these perforations and even, right. So everything will be gravel. So then it recharges the borewell. So significant increase in borewell water we have seen since even it has been published in our last year. I mean university calendar also. So we have executed this nearby one of the village in Raichur. Really it works out well. So likewise, another one of the technology could be, so say for example, whatever runoff occurring, okay, if we can make a one tank like this, we call it as a sand pit, okay, like 1 meter, 1.5 meter depth, then fill with pebbles, and at the top sand. So whenever runoff flows over this, it gets infiltrated, and so it can be connected to the borewell and so on. So likewise, or at the bottom somewhere you can give one pipe and it can be stored in the another nearby well. So like that. So sand pit can also be used for groundwater recharging. Okay, when runoff flows, overland flows, overland runoff flows over that. So then, of course, earlier days, because many of the technologies are already known to us. So soak pit was very common even in our villages. Okay, like 20, 30 years back. Okay, so for every house we used to have one soak pit. But with modernization, we don't have soak pits at all. Okay, soak pit is one of the simple technology to recharge groundwater, right? So that is one of the important aspect. Then, of course, rooftop rainwater harvesting. Yes, say for example, it is our agriculture engineering college hostel. Okay, it's around 130 students capacity. So around 902 meter square area, rooftop area is there. So this just I have drawn to show the laterals. These are the pipes, collecting pipes. Okay, of 3 inches. Then 6-inch pipe is there. So it's been connected to the tank. This tank is 60 meter cube capacity, 62 meter cube capacity. That is 62,000 liters of water. So then, since this is a 6-inch pipe, so we have split. This is the wall. Okay, to divert this side or to other side. Okay, other side when we don't want means when it is filled means. So we are allowing to the nearby open well, right? So that's why yes, these are the 2 filters we have adopted, screen filters. Okay, before it enters, and this is the overall scenario. Okay, this is the 62 meter cube, that is a 62,000 liters capacity tank. So it's many times it's got filled up, and even that overflow we are allowing it to the nearby bore well. Okay, so whenever it overflows, one pipe is there from here, so that pipe is taken to just recharge this. Otherwise, when the tank itself gets filled, so then we divert this wall. Okay, we'll close here and divert to the environment. That's why rooftop rainwater harvesting can also be a very good technology. So far we were mainly concentrating about agriculture field and domestic. So now we'll have some light over non-agriculture field, that is non-arable lands, right? Towards non-arable lands, right? So when gullies are there, big flow is there, so we can go for simple nala bunding. Okay, this is a nala, so we can have a big earthen embankment. Nala bunding is required, but of course we should have one outlet at proper place. Okay, otherwise water should not flow over through this. Okay, proper outlet has to be given for this earthen embankment. So that is very important. So then, especially in watershed area, when upstream areas where slopes are less, okay, so at that place we can go for sunken ponds, small depth ponds, like hardly half-meter depth. Okay, having some 5 to 5 meter width and 10 to 15 meter length. Okay, we can go for such sunken ponds, percolation, which are called as small percolation pits. As I told, so real farm ponds are not for recharging groundwater. All these structures for recharging the groundwater. Farm ponds are only to go for IFS, like integrated. You can grow fishes there and so on. Then main purpose is supplementary irrigation. But all these things now in dryland are now these are for groundwater recharge. Percolation ponds, we call it as sunken. This is mainly at upstream areas. Okay, so very small structures. When we come towards downstream area, it is percolation pond, bigger in size, nothing else. But the only thing is, for both the things, we need to identify sites such a way that there should be some grievances in, like say it should have a proper infiltration characteristics. It should not be tight clay. Okay, so because it should allow water to pass through now. Seepage should occur now because it has to recharge the groundwater. So it is at the downstream side where more contributing area will be there and larger embankment will be there. Okay, so percolation pond towards the downstream side, and our percolation pits or sunken ponds at the upstream side are more preferred for recharging the groundwater at the pits. Then whenever slopes are very high, like comparatively more than 6%, more than 10%, so under such conditions we will go for contour trenches, like trench cum bund system in agriculture field, where slopes are very less, 2%, 3%, 5%, like that. So but when slopes are more than 5%, 10%, okay, so in that case, in hilly areas, so in that case we go for contour trenching. So slope is in this direction, so we'll have a trenches, right? So that same excavated soil towards the downstream side. So here planting can also be done, especially forestry crops. Planting can also be done. So usually they are continuous trenches or zigzag manner. See, this is continuous trenches. One trench, then after a few meters, continuous trenches across this slope. But here zigzag manner. Say for example, small trenches, right? So this is then here exactly below this there is no trench. Okay, it is zigzag manner. Then below this no trench. Okay, like that. So in zigzag manner also we can have contour trenches. This is the slope of the direction, and across the slope we can have trenches. So contour trenches can be continuous or it may be in staggered manner, zigzag manner. So this is one of the best technology for high slopes, right? So for growing even forestry crops also. Okay, so that is one thing. Then again in wastelands, Okay, so wastelands, we know where shallow soils are there, shallow soils, but good percolation rates once it is allowed to stand there, right? Very shallow soils, you cannot grow agricultural crops. Though slope is less, but soils are very shallow and very stony, stony, right? So under that conditions, we can like in a half moon shape, like half moon shape. So we can have small bunds, okay, where water can be stored in this, and there we can take up planting. Okay, so that's why again it is very good for forestry crops and other plantation crops. I mean, very hardy crops. Okay, where in stony areas also it comes up, right? So small crescent bunds can be used, and again even less than that. Okay, small crescent bunds are still bigger. So even for less than that, okay, small, very in zigzag manner, right? So in a same like it's not so fertile, it's very wasteland. So we need to take up some forestry crops. So then small scooping will be far better, because once this gets infiltrated, even it gives moisture to the downstream layer also. Then even you can find good yield at bore wells also at the downstream side. This scooping and even crescent bunds, even percolation pits, as well as percolation ponds, which are at downstream side. So they are very good for recharging the groundwater, right? So again, gully is a biggest problem in dry land, right? Some of the best measures. So we can go for sandbags across the gully, right? Because otherwise the soil gets even at the sides as well as at the bottoms. Very much, soil gets eroded. That's why. So then, if locally, if you want even cheaper than that, so then brushwood dams, all whatever thorny species is there. So across the gully, so we can put with some stakes, even tied with the wire, so that it will not flow away, right? So brushwood dams, that means our thorny species we can have it, right? So then gabion structure. So whatever loose stones are there, if we keep it as such, so it will be blown away, right? I mean, sometimes takes with the velocity of water. So that's why it has to be tied in the sheet. Okay, I mean MS gauge sheet, thick wire mesh. That is called as gabion structure. So along with the thick gauge wire mesh, so it is tied, and so it will be in a firm condition at that place, at that site. So these are called as gabion structures. Right. Then, of course, one of the other better structure is check dams. Yes, check dams are very much adopted in watershed areas. Here also, like multiple users, right? So it is for domestic animals, then for small other farm activities, then again recharging downstream bore wells also. Okay, then creating a better micro environment and so on. Check dams are very much essential, but some components are very important here, because once say for example this is gully, if this is the check dam, okay, we should have proper weir, then proper this apron section. See, apron section, this section is very important, right, to reduce the velocity. Otherwise, it flows and it takes away the soil. Then at the end of the apron section, end sill, okay, raised portion of the wall. Even in this, we have to fill with the boulders, so that we reduce the velocity of the water before it goes to the downstream gully. So proper side wall should be there. So likewise, some components, extension of head wall should be there. Otherwise, no extension means, so it will be, sometimes breaching will occur at one or the other place. That's why, so it has to be constructed with proper, components. That is very important. Fine. Then diversion structures. So it is most important at the foothills of very slopy lands. Suppose hills are there, or very slopy lands are there. These structures, diversion drains, are very important, because if you don't have these diversion structures, straight away the runoff from this falls on the agriculture field and creates lot of havoc. Okay, so that's why for that, so depending upon the contributing area, we need to have diversion structures, which is again connected to the farm pond or nala bunds. Okay, but size should be lesser size at the upstream side, and as we go downstream, the size should be bigger, because the contributing area will be more. So likewise, we always should have diversion drains at the foothills, okay, of the very slopy areas, okay, because we need to avoid runoff entering into the agriculture field. Okay, that's why diversion drains are also very important component in dry land. So then almost when we have perennial rivers, okay, they mean are intermittent. Okay, perennial rivers it's not required. When we have intermittent flow only during rainy season, so along the nalas, okay, we can have excavation like this. We can have a subsurface dikes. That means you can have a cement concrete structures. So I mean, after rainfall, even after runoff, okay, subsurface will be flowing. So that can be arrested and it can be connected to the pipes. Then it can be connected to the open well nearby, or even the same sand pits like in the channel. Say suppose this is the channel, you can have to from the surface of the channel bottom. Okay, we can have 1 meter depth cement concrete tank that can be filled with boulders and all. Okay, then sand will be filled, so that will be equal to the elevation of the bottom of the channel. Then whenever water flows in this, okay, it gets infiltrated in this pit. Okay, then from the bottom, so pipe can be drawn and it can be stored in the well. So likewise, so it's one of the technology. Whoever farms are very nearby nalas, so such structure we can create and we can take the runoff water into the well. So with this, I'll maybe 40 to 50 minutes time was given. So with that, actually, I know, as I told, many of you may be knowing better than me, but even I have not presented any of the scientific data here. Just I have gone through simple wordings. Yeah, now it's open up for discussion. So I'm, feel free to ask questions. Yes, as much as possible. I'll
Thank
try.
you, Dr. Srinivasa Reddy, for an excellent talk and presentation. I now request the participants to ask their questions. We'll also be posting the speaker's contact details in the chat window. Participants, please post your questions if you have any. The first question could be from anybody. Anybody wants to go for the first question? Mr. Dr. Gururajachar.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Doctor. Yes, please.
Mr. Reddy,
Yes,
very
sir.
interesting lecture, but full of information, too much of information to constipate us.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is that
Yes, sir.
how do we gauge or how do we monitor
Yes,
how
sir.
much of water salvage has been done? Or how would I know the rate? I have done adopted some techniques which you have done.
Yes. Yes.
How do I know the fruitfulness of that? How do I know quantitatively measure the usefulness of these techniques?
Qualitatively, yes, certain can be done. These are actually
Quantitative,
quantitatively. You
yes,
need to measure it.
yeah. How do I
Yeah.
know I
Yes,
have
sir. Yes, sir.
done all these
Yeah.
measures and how
Yes.
much
Yes.
of water conservation in quantum
Yes.
has been done?
Certainly, yes, sir. Of course. Okay, I'll take one simple example, sir. Say, for example, trench combine. Okay, even we have surveyed in Raichur area along with officials of agriculture department, right? Say there are two conditions. One farmer has adopted trench combine method. Okay, another farmer just beside that, same soil, same crop, everything. So he has not gone for a trench combine. Okay, right? So whatever the downstream area is there from that trench combine, so yield is almost 30 to 40% higher than the just beside adjacent field. Okay, so like that, for any technology, so we have some assessment procedures. Say for example, farm pond. Okay, say we harvest the runoff water even from 1 hectare to 1 hectare or even 1 acre also, no problem. Okay, as I was highlighting, say for example, June we receive good rainfall, July we receive good rainfall, but August unfortunately, say for example, 3 weeks no rainfall. At that time, suppose if it is coinciding with one of the critical stages, say for example, take an example of Chikbalapur, Kolar area, so where groundnut is grown. So if it coincides with the pod stage, that means small pods will be formed. That is very critical stage for that. Okay, if it doesn't receive rainfall, then almost yield will be drastically reduced. But whatever stored water is there, even if we give one irrigation, just sprinkle it, like we receive rainfall, right? 5 mm, 10 mm, at least 10 mm will be more than sufficient for 1 week, 10 days, like that. If we can give one supplementary irrigation, right? So almost 30 to 40% of the yield will be increased. So likewise, we have a lot of data also, but I have not presented that. Okay. So for each and every conservation measures, we have data, sir, like scientific data. We can very well measure what is the use in, economically, I mean, even for everything, economical benefit, social benefit, environmental benefit, everything we can work out, sir. Just a farm pond itself, economical benefit, yes. With one supplementary irrigation, 30% yield increase, that is economical benefit. Then ecological benefit, say soil loss, which was getting eroded, so it is being arrested. Even before farm pond will be having a silt structure, okay, it will be arrested again, it can be replaced in the this one. Okay, so it is a ecological importance. So likewise, every benefit can be recorded and it can be evaluated also. Even that's what even in watershed programs, that's what we do it. Like drought prone area program is there, river valley projects are there, or IWMP integrated watershed management programs are there, which is combination of both the state government and the central government funding, of course, under the agriculture department. So always watershed programs are there. Earlier it was separate watershed department. Now it's been merged with agriculture department only, right? So watershed programs are continuous. IWMP projects are there. So whenever we evaluate for each and every structure, it is something different. So in all these terms, we can evaluate.
Yeah, it is all indirect evidence of excessive water supply or percentage. But I would like to say that today I am without water conservation, and my water yield is say 1 gallon. And
Yes,
with water conservation, how do I know instead of 1 gallon, I got 2 gallons? How
yes,
do I
sir.
measure that? That's what I mean with
Yeah.
quantitative.
Yeah, that's what. Say for example, we have check dam. Okay, so we have check dam. I mean, like if we have before check dam, if we have water level, say suppose downstream to the check dam. Okay, so we have, say for example, 3-4 bore wells are there. Okay, so before check dam construction, if you would have taken groundwater levels of that bore wells, right?
Yep.
So it will be something maybe 200 feet or 250 feet. So then after the construction of check dam or percolation ponds, then we need to do continuous monitoring. Yes, it may rise 50 feet, it may rise. That means it may come up to 150 feet, 100 feet. So like that. So like that, for each and every structure, there is a qualitative as well as quantitative measure is there, sir. Say for example, rooftop rainwater harvesting. So we have a pakka cement concrete structure. Say for example, even we have done studies. Say 10 mm is the rainfall today. Okay, almost 10 mm into rooftop area. Okay, if you multiply with that, okay, 10 mm into rooftop area, 1000 meter square is the rooftop area. 10 mm, 10 mm is 0.01 meter. If you multiply those two figures, some meter cube you will get. Okay, 1 meter cube is equal to 1000 liters. How many liters of water is collected in the tank? We can measure. So it is not exactly the same figure. That means area into depth. It is not so much. That means the efficiency, conveying efficiency is hardly 80 to 85%. Rest of 10-15% losses will be there. Okay. So like that we can quantitatively assess it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Mr. Sudhiranjan Mandal. Mr. Sudhiranjan Mandal, you had a question to ask.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, doctor. It was a very interesting presentation. Actually, I was slightly confused about the type of water harvesting structures. Like, what is the difference between this boulder structure and the gabion structure?
Yes, sir.
For example.
So, loose boulders, if you put, that is called as boulder structure. Okay, sir. Loose stones. Okay. Then at that condition, there may be likely chances of, the stones will be taken away by the runoff water. Okay, sir. Loose structure. So when we, put them in a GI wire, so it is having some thickness. So we bind it clearly and place it in the place. That is called as gabion structure. That means GI wire is used to wrap those loose boulders, right, sir? So that structure is called as gabion structure. And it's a term, technical term used in watershed, gabion structures, because it cannot flow down with that mass because it is binded by wire, GI wire thickness.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Any more questions? I look for questions in the chat window.
Yes.
Just a minute. I'll see if there are any questions being posted there. The operation losses could help in preserving water in soil.
Yeah, can I come in if Mr. Vinay Verma here?
Vinay Verma's question is, evaporation losses, if controlled, would help in conserving water in soil. What is he trying to ask? I don't understand. Yes, Mr. Vinay Verma, can you please ask?
Yeah, basically, I'm an engineer. I'm not really from the agri field, but I'm into environmental sustainability. And we find that the biggest problem that we have today is excessive, groundwater pumping. And most 50% of the irrigated water is being lost to the atmosphere without any usefulness.
Yeah.
And we were wondering if Dr. Srinivasa Reddy or others have ever put a thought into this.
Yes.
And if not, if I could give a suggestion to you all for a try.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. You mean what are the measures for controlling evaporation?
Yeah, are you all doing anything that is really sizable, which can conserve the water? Because today, I think the water crisis is going to be a major issue.
Yes,
And
sir, yes.
after COVID, it's going to be the epidemics that are going to take place. And if we don't do something about it, I think we're going to be in deep trouble.
Sir, this slide is visible, sir. This slide is visible.
Beg your
Mulching
pardon,
slide.
sir?
This slide is visible right now, sir.
At the moment is not. Yeah, mulching.
No, not
mulching
visible.
is one.
Not visible.
Mulching is one. Dr. Reddy, mulching is one part of it. I agree with you.
Yes,
That
sir.
is there.
Yes, sir.
But as I see, when I've been to farms in Punjab, been to farms in Rajasthan, etc., there is a reckless use of water that is taking place.
Yes, sir.
Excessive overpumping is taking place, and flooding
Yes.
of land is taking place.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
Sir, actually, say, for example, we have excellent water resources in the country. Only thing is,
right,
we need to plan them very properly. Say, for example, just to say one example, the Ganga water itself is more than sufficient to irrigate whole geographical area of the country with micro
absolutely right.
irrigation. Just one of the example, that water is sufficient to irrigate whole area of the country. But in all the command areas, what we are doing is we are going for flood irrigation. We are growing paddy. Even research experiments are there. Even with the drip irrigation also we can grow paddy. But still we are going for flood irrigation. We are we are using that water, sir. That is the problem, especially in command area. Even the overall irrigation efficiency of the command area is all less than 35% in our country. The overall efficiency of the irrigation commands. That means almost 65 to 70% we are losing in various ways. Conveyance losses, field losses, runoff losses, seepage losses, like that. We are losing at different stages. So otherwise, if it is better used in with all these micro irrigation technology, so we can irrigate double the area, triple the area. Not at all a problem, sir. We have technology, everything. The only thing is just some.
I guess we have not put a value to the water because there is no value.
And sir, yes, sir, you know better than me. I think many of you know better than me. See, in many countries, even for agriculture also, water is priced. See, in our country, wherever command areas are there, so many command areas are there. Hardly we are paying 100 rupees per acre basis where we are growing paddy. 100, 200 rupees per acre basis. That too, we are not able to collect it properly. That is the condition. But remember, in other countries, in meter cube, 1 meter cube is 1000 liters. In meter cube, they are charging, and lot of revenue is generated, and people also use it very judicially. Even for our,
I was in Europe, and
yes,
I saw a product that was being used called water retainer. Basically,
yes,
a diluted form is sprayed on the soil to reduce the evaporation losses which take place, which have got no use for the plant as such. About 50% is lost. So what they're doing now is that they're doing an organic soil conditioner, which is spraying on the soil, which is like a non-return valve. The vapors that are coming from the soil are not allowed to go into the atmosphere, and the dew in the evening is collected and brought into the soil, what happens is the top 750 to 900 ml of of soil is always enriched with moisture, which leads to better germination, better utilization of the fertilizer, and many other things. And we found that in rain-fed areas, there has been an increase of crop yield by over 13 to 14%, while in irrigated areas, there's been a saving of 40 to 50% of irrigation water, with a crop yield of 6 to 7%.
Yeah, good.
Now, if we can save
area is increased. That is the main thing.
Yeah, so you're utilizing your water better. There is no stress in the plant, and I find this is the most scientific way of doing it, rather than what we are presently following. I just wanted to open this up. Maybe not on this forum. Maybe I can connect with you later on the phone. But I think we need to change our thinking, because damming and all these things is going to take a very long time. We need a quick solution, because I'm in the sustainability business, environmental sustainability business, and I find a crisis is coming and it's right in front of us. And this time it's not going to be COVID, it's going to be an epidemic of some large nature, because without water, the hygiene levels are going to go, and there'll be no human beings left at this rate. Another 20 years, we could be in a very bad state. So I think we need to really, pull up our socks and do something about it. So I thought this would be a good.
That's a good
example. That's
a good thing that you conveyed. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you, Dr. Thank you, Mr. Vinay Verma, for your viewpoint. I think we have now completed the round of questions. I'd like to thank Dr. Srinivasa Reddy on behalf of Agriculture Information for taking his time to speak with us. I now request the organizer of the meeting, Ms. Rajini Jain, to please close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lakshmipati. I'd like to thank the speaker, Dr. Srinivasa Reddy, for taking the time to talk with us. I also like to thank all the participants for their time. The meeting will now be closed.
Thank you.